and Christoph Khalaf, our CEO. So, yes, the focus of today's webinar is to show you how easy it is to manage applications and tasks with the use of Power Platform, that is mostly Power Apps. And Julian will be walking you through that along with the live demonstration. So, just to share the agenda with you, it is on your screen. So, what we'll be showing is we have an introduction for Power Apps for those who are new to it and are not aware of its features. We will be showing the introduction and adaptive cards, SharePoint site as well, Power Apps, and Power Automate walkthrough, along with embedding Power Platform with Microsoft Teams, how it can be used with Microsoft Teams, third party applications, forms, and some new and exciting features that are coming up on the Power Platform. And stay tuned towards the end. We have an exclusive offering and our workshop, our technical workshop that is completely free of cost. We'll be announcing that. So, yes, Mr. Christoph, yes, our CEO will now introduce our company and what is it that
Yes.
we do. Yes.
Yes. Hello. Good morning, everyone. Thanks again for joining. For the first-time joiners, just to give you a quick brief about our company. We are a Microsoft Gold partner, and we dedicate our services all around cloud services. We operate in META region, Middle East, Turkey, and Africa, and we've been awarded 4 years in a row Cloud Partner of the Year for this region. And all our focus is related to Office 365, Azure, and Power Platform, which is the topic of today. So today's topic will be around Power Platform and some advanced features there. We're going to see the back end, the front end, some nice examples that we also prepared. We will tackle both sides, which is the user part and the technical part. We will also go deeply into the new features that were there with our colleague Julien. So he will be showing some nice features and some nice integration, how everything is correlated together, how Power Automate is related to Power Apps, is correlated to SharePoint, to Teams, to Outlook. We will see some nice examples on how we can automate business processes, push notifications through different platforms, how we can also use third-party applications like ASP.NET or any web application or any database that we have to also make use of Power Automate and Power Apps as a platform. So all this will be tackled during this session. I guess most of you are already enrolled on Office 365 and already have SharePoint and Power Apps, but I'm not sure how much you are making use of that and to which extent you are using it. So this session will help you also see to which extent and how you can leverage your business processes using Teams and Power Apps and Power Automate. So now I will leave it to my colleague Julien. He's going to take over. He's going to pass through the agenda. Bobby, if you can reshare the agenda so Julien can explain a quick overview about the agenda, and then we can move on to the live demo.
Thank you, Christoph. So good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. My name is Julien Anid. I am Power Apps, SharePoint, and Power Automate developer at Exquitech. So today I will be doing a demonstration on the value-added services on the top of the Power Platforms. The solutions we are offering are based on these platforms. So in today's presentation, you will see the integration of how these technologies work together. It will make it easy to measure your business act on the results and automate the workflows. Besides, we will show you some examples that we created on the top of these technologies. And keep in mind, of course, it's not limited to what we are going to show you in our examples. So whatever you are thinking about and you are still doing manually, we can automate your business process. So I'm sure you will be gaining further knowledge on the possibilities that we can implement using the Power Platforms that I have mentioned. So before we dive in, I would like to give you a quick introduction about the Power Platform and its components. So Power Platforms, it is a system that can help the organizations to drive business by enabling them to drive intelligent business processes using Power Apps via applications and automate those processes using Power Automate. And the Power Platform's components are starting by Power Apps. So it's all about enabling people to solve their business problems. So mainly using Power Apps, we can quickly build our custom business applications that connect us to several data sources. It can be on-prem or it can be online, like SharePoint, like Excel, like Dynamics 365, like SQL, like SAP, and so on. In addition, like the applications built using Power Apps will provide workflow capabilities to transform our manual business processes to digital automated processes. And Power Apps can run on the web browser, on laptops, on the tablets, or the phones. So this is about Power Apps. Regarding Power Automate, which is also under the Power Platform umbrella, it is a service that help us to create automated workflows between our favorite applications. It can be Power Apps, it can be third-party applications. And this service, it helps us to synchronize the files, to get notifications, to collect data, decision for approvals, and many more. Now, what is SharePoint Online? So SharePoint Online, it is a cloud-based service. It is hosted by the businesses of all the sizes. And using SharePoint, we can create sites, we can create lists, we can create document libraries, and we can share all the information with our colleagues, partners, and customers. The next slide will be about the productivity tool of using the Power Platform. So using the Power Platforms, we are able to develop several applications and forms that enhance the productivity using Power Apps and Office 65 with Office 65. So also it is integrated again with any third-party application, and we can share the applications and our workflows within Microsoft Teams, for example. And also we are able to collect and manage and distribute data using SharePoint, using Microsoft Forms, which is related to surveys, and many more. Now the benefits of the Power Platforms. Using the Power Platforms, we have a lot of benefits, and we can, using Power Apps, we can encourage cross-organization collaboration between any type of business, IT and pro developers, with IT in control, ensuring the governance, compliance and security, and also raising the customer expectation, the time consuming from day-to-day perspective. And Power Apps also, it helps us to reduce the paper processes that we are doing manually on a daily basis. Additionally, using Power Apps, we can run multiple applications consistently with the same custom data source. Now, Power Apps also enables digital transformation. So, for example, we have three different categories for the clients, for the user interface and the logic, and for the data, where the user consumes these data. So, as I mentioned, we are able to connect to any third-party application like SQL, like Dynamics, like SharePoint, which is a free data source, and with SAP, and also with Common Data Service. Now, what is Common Data Service? So Common Data Service, it is a built-in database in Office 65 that let us to securely store and manage our data used by the business applications. And data with the Common Data Service, it is stored with a set of entities. And an entity, like it is a set of records used to store data, similar like how a table stores data within the database. So now, what about the adaptive cards? So what are the adaptive cards as a quick introduction? So the adaptive cards are an open card exchange format. It will enable the developers to exchange the user interface content like in a common and consistent way. And besides, as you can see in this screenshot, so it can be used through multiple applications. Like the adaptive cards can be used through Outlook, within Microsoft Teams, and also within the mobile devices like Android or iOS. So later in the demo, we will see how they work with Teams and Outlook. So I will start by sharing my screen. So please, Bobby, could you? Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Great. So please let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes, Julian, we can see your screen
Thank
now.
you. So first, I will show you a demonstration on SharePoint. Then we will jump through the agenda and the most advanced topics. So starting by SharePoint. So in SharePoint, you will see how we can create our own SharePoint site. And of course, those are very basic. But let's say you want, for example, to do some integration or to develop or install any third-party applications that need codings and developments. So it requires a developer to do this. So I'm going to show you how we can create a site, how we are able to create document libraries, lists, how we are able to give permissions on the site level and on the list level. Then I will show you how we are able to customize a page, like by adding, for example, a Power BI report and some provided web parts within SharePoint. So I will start by showing you an example of a SharePoint site. Then I will show you how we are able to do this. So this is an example of a SharePoint site. So as you can see here, we have two different tiles of images. And if I click on any of these images, I will be redirected to a certain website, like a quick link. And here we have a subject, for example, about what they do, this particular company. We can see an events as a web part where we are able to create an event. And I will cover this in another example of a SharePoint site. So here we can see location. So we are able to provide, for example, our office location in Dubai, some photo gallery, some more information, and finally the contact us details. So this is an example of a SharePoint site. So I will jump to our official site, our SharePoint site. It's the same idea. It's we have a picture gallery here. Like it will cycle through the images each and every 4 seconds. For example, our solutions like the Power Platform, Enterprise Security, Data Analytics, WVD, and many more. We have a latest news section where where we are able to create forms and surveys and post it within the site, and all the employees will be notified once anything is posted under this SharePoint site. Now, regarding the events, so simply I can add an event, for example. So let's say Power Platform, where I can provide the location. I can provide the meeting link. It can be Zoom, Teams, whatever. I can pick from the category what is the type of this meeting. It is a meeting, more description about this event. So what is about this event? I can provide here my descriptions, and the person who will be the persons who will be presenting during this event. So it will get the Office 65 user profiles, and I can pick here the persons. And also I can add an image, for example, for the event. So I can upload an image, for example. And finally, I'm ready to submit. So here, when I submit, the users within the organization will receive an email about this event, and also they can check it on the site directly here. So this is the event that I have added earlier. Now, this is more details about us, some images and descriptions. And we have a section for the photo gallery for our services. These are also quick links that redirect us to our website. So to this specific topic, for example, to the development topic. And here we have an image for our data analytics and workflows about the Power BI, for example, about the data analytics, about the integration services. And we have a section for the Emotap survey results. So we have a survey for Emotap. Emotap is our healthcare medical application developed on the top Microsoft Azure. So here what we're doing, we have a survey and we are embedding the results of the survey within the SharePoint site. So everyone can see the total responses, the average number, for example, in a pie chart, the support communication methods that the customer prefers, and so on. And here we are providing a location for our office. This is one of our branches in Dubai. And finally, our contact details. Now, before I go through the site, now I will show you an example like how we are able to do this, how we are able to create a site and add a web page or a web part. So I will get back to SharePoint, to the home page, and I will create a site. So here what I can do, I can create two types of site. It can be a team site and it can be a communication site. Now for the communication site, I can share it with external users and engage the customers on our topics, events, and the projects. And regarding the team site, like it's within the organization where we can share the documents and keep tracking of events or a forms or tasks. So I will create a communication site, and here I can choose a design. It can be topic, showcase, blank, whatever. Blank, it means from scratch. Topic, it will start with this template. So let's say Power Platform. So that's the name of my site, and I will click on Finish to create the site. Now the site is created for me. Now what I can do here, let's say I want to customize this page. So simply I can click on Edit. So, and here there is a plus button where I will have access to add a built-in web parts provided by SharePoint. It can be a link, it can be an image gallery, it can be an events calendar, Microsoft Forms. And let's say I want to add a Power BI report, for example. So simply, I can find Power BI here. I can click on Power BI and add my report. I have to provide my report link. I have it already here. So I will paste this report link. Then it will just take a moment to fetch the report within SharePoint. So for example, this is a report for the crisis communication application where I can filter and check like it's a present status on a daily basis. I can see the people that are working from home or out of the office. So you see the number is changing here. And like I see in a chart, I can view it as a table. So I can check the count. So the people that are working from home are 58, out of the office are 8, and so on. And once I add my web parts and whatever it is, so let's say we want to add a text. So Power Platform, let's say. So I can customize it. I can, for example, change the font color. So it's very user friendly. Those are very basic, but just to show you the idea, what you can do within a SharePoint site. Now, let's say I want to create a document library. So I can go to the site contents, and from here, I can add whatever I want, like sites, lists, like pages, and document library. And applications, those are the third-party applications that is imported to the site. So I'll create, for example, a list. So I can create a list. So I can choose a list. There are a built-in templates. Here I can, so they are prepared the templates where I can select the columns where the columns are already there. So I don't have to create nothing. Only if I want to customize, I'm able to do this. If I want to change the columns or add or remove, I'm able to do this. So for the travel request list, we have a demonstration later on this list, but I will create a list from blank. So I can click on blank and type my list name. So this is list one, let's say, and description goes here. So once I create a list, so here I can here I'm able to add columns and from several data types. And let's say I want to stop inheriting permission on the site levels. So how I'm able to do this? So I can go to the list settings, and within the list settings, here I can also add columns. I can create a view for me. I can change the list from modern, experience to classic, whatever. We have a section for the permissions and the management where I'm able to delete and assign permissions. So let's say I want to assign permission for this list. Now, what's happening here? Now, this list is inheriting permission from the site level. And where from the site level? So if I get back, for example, to the homepage, and I click on share above. So just a moment. Yes. So if I click on share here, I'm able to see who are the people that I have shared the site with. So I can see who's the site owner that has the full control ability, the members and the visitors. So here I can assign, I can invite my colleagues to this site, and I can give them permission, either full control, edit, or read. So let's say I want to give him full control for Christophe, our CEO. So I can share with Christophe this site. And now Christophe will receive an email that I have shared with him the site. And if I get back to the list here and I refresh the page, we can see under the owners group, this is three different groups. I can see that Christophe is inside this group. Now, let's say I don't want Christophe to manage and or read or create data in this list. So, okay, I can remove Christophe from here, but it will not work. Why? Because I'm still inheriting permission from the site. So I will get back to the list. First things I will do, I will stop inheriting permission. And now I can remove Christophe from the group. So he will not be able to access the site anymore. So I can take an action to remove the user from this group. And finally, this is how we are able to, this is the difference between the site level and the list level, and how we are able to stop inheriting permissions based on these two. Now, what about the permissions on the document libraries? So if I get back to the site contents, I will create a document library. So I provide a name, let's say for the HR. So once I create this document library, I'm able to upload any types of file, Word document, Excel, links. So let's say I want to add a folder for the payroll. So here, this file, I don't want, for example, the managers to access this particular folder inside this document library. So how I can assign permission? So inside the document library, we can assign permissions on the folder level. So I can click on the three ellipses here and click on Manage Access. So here I can see all the peoples that have access directly to this folder. If I want to remove an access, simply I can stop share and remove the visitor access from this site. And also noting that also the HR document library is taking the permissions on the site level, not on the list level. And of course, it's not related to the list, but I can also stop inheriting permissions on the document library. So I can stop sharing, and if I want to give access to someone, simply I can click share, where I can type the name or the email address, let's say our colleague Basili. So when I pick Basili here, I can add a message. It is optional. He will receive an email, and I will send him a link within the organization, and he will receive the email within Outlook. So this is how I'm able to assign permissions on the folder level. So this is about the permissions. Now let's flip back to our SharePoint site and start showing you a demo, like how we are able to embed a Power Apps application within SharePoint. And we will take an example for the leave request, where we are going to show you how the employees will apply for an annual leave request, and how the flow will kick off and send notifications for the approvals to take their responses. So getting back to our to the site, so I will get back to the SharePoint site, and I will go to the forms. And it is the leave application form. But before I go to the forms, we have another list where we are storing all the employees' information. And these data are synchronized with our SQL database to keep everything updated after an approval of an annual leave request. Now I will go to the leave application form. And now the difference between a normal form within so you will see the difference between a normal form within SharePoint and the forms that are customized in Power Apps. So the normal form in SharePoint, I will just show you how it looks like. So let's say this list, if I click on new, you will see it's a very basic form. I cannot customize it, and I cannot populate data here within the fields. But how I'm able to do this? So getting back to the leave application form by clicking on new. So this is the leave application form. So it is customized in Power Apps. So you see the difference between those two forms. Here you will notice that all the fields are auto-populated, and this is based on the current user that is signed in. So I'll provide all the required information. This is a calendar view. I will provide the start date, vacation, and the end date. And here we can see the total days. So it displayed, it will calculate the difference between these two dates. And here I can check my current balance that is coming from the list and from the database. And I can apply for any type of leave, let's say sick. I can provide a description here. So this description goes here. And finally, my signature, which is a pen input box where I can scribble and sign. So I will be signing my request. Now, in the sake of this demo, I'm the manager. That's why I have the ability to, for this tab, which is the direct manager approval. Of course, the normal employees will only have access to fill only this form. And besides, you will notice that we have another employee here, another employee leave request. Of course, the normal employees will not be able to see this particular employee's leave request. So each user will only can see his own created request. Now, what will happen in the backend? So we have submitted the form. I will, before I walk through the flow, troubleshooting the flow, I'm going to jump to the Power Automate portal. Inside this portal, we are able to create several types of flow. So this is the Power Automate portal where I can create from template, I can create an automated flow from blank. It can be an instant flow, it can be a scheduled flow based on a recurrence. And the UI and the business process flow are not covered in our session today. But I would like to give you an introduction, like about what is the business process flow and the UI flow. So the business process flow, it's a flow to ensure that the people enter data consistently and follow the steps every time they work with a customer. So it provides a guidance for the people to get the work done step by step. And it provides also a streamlined user experience. Now, the UI flow, it is a brand new feature created for Power Automate. The UI flow brings like an RPA, which is formerly known as a robotic process automation that provide capabilities to Power Automate. So we can use the UI flow to automate repetitive tasks from day-to-day perspective and in Windows and web applications. So mainly how the UI flow works is they records and plays back the user interface actions. And for example, like the user inputs, like a keyboard, like clicks, whatever. And it is very useful for the applications that really don't have APIs. So the UI flow will record everything and store the data online. So it's very advanced feature. Now, today we will be talking about the automated and the scheduled flow. So getting back to our scenario, we were talking about the leave application form. So here I can see all my flows. And before that, I will show you how we are able to create flows from template. This is provided by Microsoft. So I can create my flow from a template. So for example, these are prepared by Microsoft. I can select the type. It can be for approvals. So this is already prepared. I can customize based on my business process, of course, if I want to change anything. But it's very useful. So we can find several types of flow within the templates. Now, getting back to my flows, I will show you how we are able to troubleshoot the flow, how the flow will succeed and jump from action to action. So I will click on this flow, which is related to the annual leave request. I will go to the run history. And here I can troubleshoot my flow. So you can see all the run histories of my flows. And earlier I have applied for a leave request. We can see it triggered 2 minutes ago based on my current time zone. So if I click on this flow to check what's happening, so here I can see my trigger, which is whenever an item is created inside a SharePoint list, I can see that it succeeded and it's stuck here. So all my variables has succeeded and it's waiting for the first manager approval. And now it's pending. It's in orange, which means it's pending. Now getting back to Outlook, you will notice that I have received several emails. And why there is a lot of emails? So here the main the value added is that within Power Automate, also we are able to remind our managers for approvals. Of course, it can be for 2 days, it can be for 8 hours, whatever. But here, just for testing purposes, we are just the amount is around the timeout. Sorry, it is 30 seconds. So now it's pending my approval. So I will go ahead and I can check the email details here. And why we are providing a link. So since we are using SharePoint, I'm able directly to provide a link for the item that has been created. Now going to the form. So it will take me back to SharePoint, to this form. So it is loading. Again, it will open the Power Apps customized form. I will click on edit above. You will notice all the fields are disabled. I cannot change anything. I will go to the direct manager approval and to update my signature. So again, I can sign here and I can approve. Now, once I approve, we will see that this item has been approved successfully. And now what's happening in the back end is that the flow will escalate the approval to another, which is the final approval, and it's for our case, the HR. So now in just a moment, the flow will jump to the next step. And now here it jumps, as you can see. So it succeeded. This action has succeeded. So now it's waiting for the HR approval. Now getting back to the application, here we can assign a replacement person during the person who applied for this annual leave request. So if I enable this toggle, and yes, this person need a replacement, this dropdown is connected to our Office 65 groups. So if I type, for example, my colleague Basili, so simply here, once I submit my replacement, I will be redirected back to the list where I can see all the informations. We can see that the direct manager has approved, so it is updated. We can see that the replacement person is also updated. And here, Basili will get a notification email that he is the replacement person during my vacation leave based on the start and the end dates. Now, let's flip back to the Outlook. So now you see how we are able to approve within Power Apps. But what about Outlook? So here we have an approval form. This is, of course, this is sent by Power Automate. So here I can take my approval decision within Outlook. So this is how it will looks like. Again, we are providing links and more details. And it's pending the final approval. So here, either I can approve or reject. So I will approve. So it is approved. And I will submit. Now, finally, what's happening here? First thing, this cart will be updated, and in the list, we are updating the status of the request that it has been fully approved. And finally, the flow will send an email for the requester that his annual leave request has been approved based on the total days that he requested for. Now, getting back to the flow, just to show you that this flow has run successfully. So the flow has done his job and everything has been succeeded. So I don't have any issues with my flow. So this is how I'm able to troubleshoot the flow. So also, if I want to modify this flow, for example, to check how I'm doing, how I am mapping, for example, the link for the item that has been created. So it's very user friendly. I can pick from the diamond content, for example, the link for this item. So I will pick this from the trigger. I can, for example, map all the data that is returned from the trigger, like the balance, the current balance, the total leave days, the start date, and so on. And here I can add some conditions based on the approval decision, like if it is approved, I will go ahead and update the request, else I will just send him an email that his annual request has been rejected. So this is how I'm able to troubleshoot and create my flow. Now, the value added is that within Power Apps, it is also integrated with Outlook. So what I can do, I'm able to configure my automatic replies messages within Outlook. So if I get back to File and I go to the automatic replies, we can see that the automatic reply setting, it is off. So now what I will do, I will get back to the application and configure my automatic replies. You will see how it will be enabled and based on the dates that I have requested for and who is the replacement person. So let's flip back to the app. I will click here. Again, I will be redirected to SharePoint. I will click on edit. So after the HR approval, the requester will be able to will have access to configure his automatic reply messages. So only if it is approved, this particular data card will be displayed. Now, if I click on simply on this button and I click save, so what will happen now, getting back to Outlook and to the automatic reply settings, you will see that it switched to on and based on the dates that I have requested for. And this is the message is automatically configured by only pushing this button, showing who is the replacement person and his email address. So this is how we are able to configure automatic replies using Power Apps. Now, let's jump to the Power Apps portal, and we will walk through the purchase order application, which is developed under Power Apps that has a lot of features. So before that, I will go to the Power Apps portal. Sorry. Okay, I stopped here. Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yes, yes,
Great.
Julian, we were able to.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay, so this is the Power Apps portal. Now, inside Power Apps, we are able to start data from SharePoint, from Excel, from SQL, from Common Data Service, or any, so several data sources provided by Microsoft. And I believe that each and every month, my Power Automate and Power Apps connectors are increasing. So the connectors are increasing on a monthly basis. Now they reach about 400 connectors. So more connectors, we have the more powers to build our favorite applications. Now, I can create my app using Canvas template, using the model-driven or portal. Now, you may be asking, what's the difference between these types? So I will go to the PowerPoint presentation. So here we have a slide that show the difference between the Canvas, the model-driven, and the portals. Now, the Canvas app will give us a complete control over the user interface. Like we can drag and drop controls to build out the application, and we can determine the data source where we want to use and consume within the application. Like again, the data source can be SharePoint, it can be SQL, SAP, whatever. And what we mean here by internal tenant facing. So the internal tenant using Canvas app is typically intended to be an applications that we're building to help our organizations. But that does not say like if we want to if that we cannot share with external users. We are able to share with external users, but of course we have the capabilities and like there is a requirements, and it provides some additional configuration to be able to share with external users, and also the whole licensing concept. So this is about the Canvas app. The model driven, so this is another type of an application called model driven. With this type, we don't have complete control over the user interface like we would in the Canvas app. So it gives us a standard template that we can only like slightly tweak. And these model driven applications like are tied to something called the common data service, which is the built-in database that I have mentioned first. So in the common data service, we are able to pick the entities and use them in the application. And also it is an internal tenant facing as well, but we can share those model driven with external customers as long as we have the right licensing term. Now, regarding the portals, so the portals, it is like a almost a lightweight website. So it's more public facing, where anonymous user can interact with, like read, write, and create data, like between the common data service database. So it is also connected to the common data service database. So mainly this is the difference between these applications. In our session today, we will focus on the Canvas, and we have one example of a model-driven app, which will be covered later on in the session. So now I will show you the purchase order applications. So we have an example of the purchase order applications that is developed on Power Apps, and it is a Canvas application. So here I am inside Microsoft Teams, inside a channel which is the general channel. So if I want to add my favorite applications, simply I can click on this plus icon. I can choose what I want to add. Let's say I want to add a Power Apps application. So here it will check for the environment where all my applications exist. So it's loading. It will just take one moment. So here I can see all my applications under my environment. If I want to add any application, simply I can click and save. So this is how we are able to embed Power Apps inside Teams. Now let's get back to the purchase order application. So the purchase order application, it has a lot of features. So here what we are going to show you how we are able to automate the e-signature, how we are able to send approvals within Teams, and how we are also able to approve our items simply by signing the request. And the most advanced feature inside this app, we are leveraging the AI builder to scan some receipt, which will detect the price, the company name, whatever, and populate them in the fields. So these are the features inside the purchase order application. And not to forget, we are also able to export to PDF by a single request or by multiple requests. So now I will start by creating my purchase order request. Here I can see the open, the pending, the approved request. And the sake of this demo, I'm the manager. That's why I can see all the request amounts and the total of the open, pending, and approved. I can filter by my request, by approved, or whatever the status is. I can also filter by date and sort by date. So I will start by creating a purchase order request. Before I start here, SharePoint is my backend. It's my data source. So we are storing the data there. But you will notice that some data has been auto-populated here. So these data are coming from our database, from our SQL database. So for example, for the reference number is coming from our SQL database, and it will display the current today's date, and this number will increase after each and every submission. So I will start by creating my request. I will choose the vendor. Here also this drop down where it includes our vendors, and we have the data of all the vendors in our database, and we are populating them directly in the application. Now this is a mobile view. So since I'm, let's say I'm on my mobile, I have the ability to take a photo directly within my mobile phone, or I can attach a file, like it can be a PDF file, it can be an Excel, an image, whatever. So I'm ready to submit. I will create this request. And now here I can check, I can see all the details about my request. It is open and the amount is 0 because I have created the report, but I didn't add my products that I want to purchase. So now we will go to add the products by clicking on add new line items. So what do we have in this screen? So here we are leveraging the AI builder. So here we have the receipt processor. So I will upload an image. It will scan the purchased items and the total unit price and the company name, and it will populate them here inside these fields without typing anything. So before I scan a receipt, I would like to show you the receipt. So this is the bill, let's say. So this is the bill. Now I will scan this bill and to show you how everything will be populated here. So I will click on scan receipt. I will click on the bill. So now it is scanning. So we will have to wait for it detects everything. And after that, we will see that everything has been populated inside these fields. So you notice that the company name and the purchased items and the date and the unit price have been populated for me. So if I open the image, we can see the company name. It is an example. The purchased items. So here I can see the purchased items inside this bill, how they are populated here. It's the same price. The date, which is here, 6/10, 2019, and the total, which is $1,003. $203. So here I will provide the product name. For example, Surface Pro and Pen. Description goes here. Let's say I want to purchase 3 of these. So it will display the line total. And now I will save. So after I save, I will be redirected back to the screen where we can see the line item under this request. So the amount has been updated. And also, if I want to check for the receipt image, simply I can click on this attach. So if I click on this, I can see in a large preview the bill that I have scanned using the AI builder. And now I will close. And of course, I can add as much as I want items to purchase by using the same process. And now I'm ready to submit. So what will happen in the backend? So here we will be sending the approval within Teams, and I will get back to the Power Automate portal to show you how we are able to troubleshoot this flow. So I will open this flow in another user. I will go ahead to my flows. It is in the left navigation pane. And I will switch my environment. And I will go to the team flows because I have shared with someone. So when I share a flow with someone, it will be under the team flows. If the owner is only me, so it's under my flows. So I will troubleshoot the run history of this flow. So we can see that this flow has triggered 50 seconds ago. And here I have already a flow that is running 3 days ago. Just keep in mind that the flow will only last for 30 days. So if after 30 days, no response was taken, like for the approvals, the flow will time out and will terminate. Now I will troubleshoot this flow. So we can see a status that my flow is running. So here we are using some variables to get this item's details and inside the apply to each here we have all the approvals that will be taking their approval decisions after submitting the request. So before taking my approval, I will get back to the app to show you another option where we are able to update our signatures and approving this item. So I will get back to the navigation menu. And here we can see, for example, a tutorial. So this is a guidance for the people that they are going to use this application. This is not related to the app, but just to give you the idea what we can do, like some steps with images. And now I will go to the add signature button. So this button is only accessible for the managers. So of course the users will not be able to update their signatures. So I will click on add signature. And here we can see my request that I have created recently, which is this one. I can sort by date. I can search for the item that I want. I can filter. So now I will update my signature. So you will notice that a pen input box is provided for me to scribble and update my signature. Now, since this user is signing the first time this request and does not have any signature, so that's why we are providing him this box. But let's say we want to automate the signature. So how we are able to do this? So I will show you in another user how we are able to submit the signatures only by populating his signature and submitting the request. So I will sign this item, scribble in this box, and you will see a validation here for the button. If it has signature, it will be displayed. So I will submit my signature and I will get back. I will show you in SharePoint what is happening in the backend. So getting back to SharePoint, we have another list here for the purchase orders. So I will open this list and I will filter by today's date just to display only the order that I have submitted today. So this is my request that I have created within Power Apps. It is stored under SharePoint. And you will notice that the status signature has been updated to pending, and the first manager signature, it is signed. So this is how I'm able to approve my item using the signature. And this status, it is based on the approvals within Teams. So I will go ahead and approve within Teams. So getting back to Teams, you will notice that the flow has sent me a card. And this is based on my current time zone. So here I can see all the details that are related to the request. And again, we are providing a link since we are using SharePoint as a data source. And simply here, I can either approve or reject. So I will approve, and this is the approval one commands, and I will submit. Now, what will happen in the back end after I submit my approval? So the flow now will escalate the approval to another user and sending his approval also within Teams. So getting back to SharePoint, you will see now the status is updated to pending. So now I will get back to another user. So this is a different user. So I will play the application on the web browser by simply clicking on the three ellipses and click on play. So once I play the app on the web browser, I will go ahead and update my signatures. So it is loading, just a moment. Great. So now this is a different user. So I will go ahead and add my signature. And now you will see that my request, it's not under the open status anymore. It is under pending. And that's why we see in SharePoint that the status is pending here. So I will go ahead and update my signature. So once I clicked on update my signature, you will notice that the signature has been auto-populated, and this is based on the current user that is signed in here. So this user has already signed several purchase requests, and now we are just populating the stored signature for this user. So now I will submit my signature, and I will go to Teams. I will go to Teams here on the web browser. Sorry. Okay, close this. Okay, I will just create a new tab. I will sign in on Teams here to show you how I'm able also to approve within Teams on the web browser. And while waiting to sign in, I'm going to show you also the flow is sending for the creator an email that show the purchase order request that he created with the line items that I have added scanned by the AI that were associated with the report above. So now I will approve. I will go ahead and sign in Teams here. Sorry for this. So I'm signing in on Microsoft Teams on the web browser. I will go to the chat. So here also you will see, okay, just a moment. So I have a new message here. And here we can see that the flow has sent a card. And this is based, again, on my current time zone. This is a different user. So I will take my approval decision. This is approval 2. And I will submit. So now what will happen? So finally, now the request is fully approved. And if I flip back to SharePoint and without refreshing the page, you will see that the status has been updated to approved. And also the status of the signature has been updated to approved. Now, finally, we are sending an email for the purchase officer manager about this report details, this request details with the line items, and also with the approval responses. So we are parsing the approval outcomes. Like we can see, it is approved by the first approval and also by the second approval, and we can see the status of their signatures. So this is about the approval process within the purchase order. Now, finally, the value added here inside this application, we are able to export to PDF. And how we are able to do this? So simply, we can export to PDF to collect the data and the signatures and displayed inside this PDF in a PDF file. And also we have another option to export by multiple purchase order requests using the purchase order application. So by implementing some filters. So I will show you the boss options. So now my request, it is approved. If I click on approved, we will see this is the date that it was created. This is the amount, all the details. Now you will notice here the button appear to export to PDF after it is fully approved. So I will push this button. Now what will happen in the backend? Again, a flow will kick off, and for our case, we are storing all the reports with the line items and the signature as an attachment under the report that I have created in SharePoint, which is here. So I will refresh the page. So you will see now, I will manage this, I will edit, and I will go scroll down. You will see, do you remember that I have attached a PDF file? Now we have another attachment here. So this is added by the flow. So this is the PDF file that will display our logo, the date that it was exported on, and the details that I have added under this request, and also the signatures of the managers that signed this particular order. So simply by pushing a button, Power Automate has do the magic and finally exported this PDF file and attached to this item. So you may want to send this PDF file by email as an attachment. This is also possible. So it's not limited to what we are showing you. Everything is possible. So now I will show you how we are also able to export by multiple items using the filters within Power Apps with a different scenario. So I will go to export to PDF, and here I can see the total of the purchase orders amount. And here we have a drop down, and this drop down will filter by the vendor types. So of course, you may want to filter by date, by status, by employees, everything is possible, but just to show you the idea. So here I will export by the Exquitech vendor type. So what will happen? The gallery here will be updated based on the vendor that I have selected here. So all the requests under this vendor. Now I'm ready to export to PDF. So I can see all the report. And simply I can push this button, and also in the back end, Power Apps will export to PDF and store this PDF file in a document library in SharePoint. So I will go to the site contents in SharePoint. Here we have several document libraries, and we are storing this purchase order request, for example, under the documents library. So inside this library, you will see that we have a PDF file modified a few seconds ago by me. So if I click on this file, if I expand it, you will see that the data has been exported. So all the purchase order requests are exported under this vendor. So we can see all the purchase orders, and we can see the latest one that I have added, which is this one. It's based on today's date, which is this our latest purchase order that I have created. So this is how we are able also to filter our data, and Power Automate and Power Apps will do this job and do everything here. Of course, we are able to provide more additional fields, or we can also provide the signatures inside the PDF file. So this is about the purchase order application. Now, what we are going to show you, how we are to use adaptive cards, pushing forms within Microsoft Teams, and also how we are able, based on a selected message, to get an attachment and send it as an email attached, for example, for a department to review the file to a specific channel. And also how we are able to use adaptive cards by simply approving a request within Outlook. So starting by pushing a form inside a channel within Teams. So this is a general channel here. Now I will go to the portal, to the Power Automate portal, and I will trigger the flow manually. Of course, it can be triggered on a recurrence on a daily basis. For example, at 9 a.m., you may want to push a form for all the employees, for example, to fill their timesheet and store the data in the database. Or you can, for example, we can push forms like expenses details or a ticket details, whatever. So we can have several ideas. Now I will go to the Power Automate portal. I will go to my flows. And this is the flow that I will use to push a form in Teams. Now, in this flow, so here I can see all the details. I can see the connections that I am using. I'm using the SQL Server connection to store my data in a SQL database. I'm using Microsoft Teams to push the form inside a specific channel. And we can see the owners, we can see the history, like the last status, it succeeded, it failed, it canceled, whatever, and the status of the flow, if it is on or off. So I will run this flow manually. Of course, my trigger can be anything. It can be when an item is created in SharePoint and Dynamics, in a SQL database to a specific table, we can trigger also the flow. So I will run this flow manually. We can see that it is running. So it triggered. Now getting back to Microsoft Teams, to this channel, you will notice that the flow has pushed me this form. This is based on my current time zone. So we can see a logo, we can see fields, we can provide drop downs, radio buttons. So these are the advantages of using the adaptive cards. So it's very quite simple. Now I will provide the required information here. I will select the services that I'm interested in, and I will simply submit. Now on submission, what will happen? So this card has been updated. Now I will get back to the database. I will go to the database. So this is the database where we are storing the information that are filled from the form within Microsoft Teams. So I will refresh the latest data. And what will happen now? You will see that this is the latest item, the latest row inserted to the database, and that I have filled now. So I can see all the information, the services that I'm interested in, and many more. So this is how we are able to store our data in a database by using Power Automate and Teams. And we are also sending an email for the person who submitted this form, so we can see again the details based on what he provided while filling the form. And we are posting a message to Microsoft, to this channel, that, for example, the last name or the first name, whatever, has been stored successfully in the database. So this is automatically have been done. So I didn't type this message. This is sent by Power Automate to make sure that this user has been stored in the database. So this is how we are able to integrate adaptive cards with SQL with Microsoft Teams. Now I will show you how we are able for a selected message. It can be a message, it can be an attachment, whatever. How we are able to trigger a flow for a specific message. So before that, this flow process that I'm going to show you now will check for a file in a document library. And if this file exists, then an email will be sent for the person who is related to this file. Now I will, so we are storing the files and the documents under the general folder. So here I have this file name. So what I will do now, I will simply upload a new file. For example, this Excel sheet. I will drag and drop here. So now I have uploaded the file. So getting back to Teams, I will do the same. So this is a channel for the attachments, for example. I will also move the file, drag and drop in Teams. So it is uploading. And I will hit enter. Now it is sending. Now we have a message here. Now, how I can trigger my flow based on this message? For example, it can be also not an attachment. So if you type any message, you want to request an order or something, we can trigger the flow based on that. So whatever you type, we can trigger based on the selected message. Now I will, based on this attachment, I will trigger a flow. How? So here I will click on the three ellipses. We have more actions. So now inside this flow, I will create, I will, sorry, click on the get attachments from a Teams message. And this is my flow. So I will click on this. You will see that the flow run successfully started. Now, where is this flow? Of course, it is inside the portal. Now, getting back to the portal, you can see that I have a flow called get attachments from a Teams message. And if I click on the run history here, we can see it is too fast. 20 seconds ago, the flow has succeeded. Wow. So you see how the Power Automate is powerful. So directly it get this message. So here we have for a selected message trigger, it pulls the data. Of course, for the IT technicals, this is the JSON format, how I can troubleshoot and check for its output. There is a variable here, an array variable. Here we are getting the message from a specific team and specific channel, which is the one that I have added the file. And here we have a do until action that wait for the file that it has uploaded, check if the file already inside the document library If so, then we are going to send the email for the related person. So now if I get back to Outlook, we will see that I have received an email. Wow, so this email includes me the attachment that I have uploaded within Microsoft Teams. So this is the employees list, this is the file. So I get the attachment here, and here more information about this attachment. So this is how I'm able to trigger a flow based on the selected message in Teams. And this is a brand new feature added to Power Automate. Now I'm going to show you how we are able to request an orders, some orders, and how we are able to approve these items within Outlook using adaptive cards. So I will go to the site contents, and I will go to a list called requests. So I have a list here called requests. So I will go ahead in this list. So it's very basic. I have a title, an item name, price, status, and the comments. I will create a new item. I will name it order one. For example, it can be a desktop, and its price 6,000, let's say, and I will click on save. Great. So I will repeat the same to create several items under the same order. So let's say 4 orders, and I will just put here keyboard, switch, case, and the prices here, like 60, 200, 100, and I will exit the quick edit. So you will see that all the items have been created here. Now what I will do, I will trigger this flow manually again to show you how we are able to approve the order based on the item that I will be selecting while I'm approving. So it's multi-line of approvals. Now getting back to Power Automate, I will go to the flows, and here we have send the adaptive card, AC, it's adaptive cards through Outlook. Of course, the flow can be, it can be triggered when we push a button in Power Apps, for example, and you want to approve some orders. But here, just for testing purposes, we do this manually. So I will run this flow and click on run. Now what will happen? So I will again troubleshoot my flow. You see that 6 seconds ago and the flow has succeeded. So it took 6 seconds to get all this data and send the approval. Now what will happen? I will receive the email in Outlook. So we can see that the flow has succeeded. We can see the get items. So I'm filtering by the order. So that's why I named order one. So I'm filtering by the order one, which is the order that I have created. And here we are looping through the values, through all the choices that I have added. And finally, we are sending the email for the approval. Now, getting back to Outlook, I have received this email. So this is an adaptive cards. This is how it looks like within Outlook. So here I'm ready to approve this order based on what I will select. So let's say I will approve the desktop, let's say, and the case. So I will submit these two. So the keyboard and the switch, I didn't approve on them. So they will be rejected. And here I can provide my comments. So looks good, for example. And I will submit. So in the line moment that I'm submitting this particular form, directly we will receive another message. So thank you for the response, and my response has been successfully submitted. Now what will happen? So I will get back to SharePoint. Let's flip back to SharePoint to show you that I have selected desktop and case, and the status of both desktop and the case are approved, and the keyboard and the switch are rejected. So this is how I'm able, so this idea open lots of possibilities. So this is how we are able to multi-line approvals our items using Outlook or Teams, whatever, by also leveraging the adaptive cards. So this is about the adaptive cards. Now I will show you how we are able to integrate with third-party applications. So we have a web page, a .NET web page, which is this one. It's very basic. Now this is a site. So I will fill all the required fields and I will submit my request. And once I submit my request, I will call a flow by calling its API, by communicating between this page and the flow, and I will store whatever I type here in SharePoint. So we have a list. I will get back to SharePoint called .NET Web Page Data. And in this list, we have nothing now. So I will go ahead, fill this form. So provide my email address, comments, and I will upload my attachment. So let's say this attachment. And simply I will submit the request. Now what will happen in the backend? So yes, I am calling a flow. I will get back to my flows to show you how this flow is working. So we have a flow called here, this .NET flow, which is this one. I will click on the run history and we can see it triggered 10 seconds ago and the status is failed. So how I can troubleshoot my flow? It failed, but let's see where does it fail. So first of all, while submitting the request, it succeeded. So my flow has triggered. And also my flow has created the item in SharePoint. So if I get back to SharePoint, I will notice that, okay, nothing is happening. So you can see that my data is here. So I have submitted and it created the item for me. But where the flow has failed. So the flow failed on the send an email action. So it is forbidden as a status code. And here I can check the details. Of course, in this point of time, I will not investigate in this issue, but just to show you how we are able to troubleshoot our flows. So this is how we are able to call a flow by using the post method and communicating with this particular URL, creating the item inside this list, which is the .NET web page data, which is this one, providing the name that is returned from the web page, the email, and the comments, and finally adding the attachment that I have uploaded while filling this request. So if I get back to the item and I click on this item, I can see an attachment here for me. So if I open this attachment, you will see that this is my signature. So this is, for example, this is an example how I'm able to get the attachment also while filling this form. So it opens a lot of possibilities. So it is integrated with any third-party application. So since I can communicate with the API, I can do whatever I want. So this is about how we are able to integrate with third-party applications. Now I will jump to a brand new feature, which is called Microsoft Lists. So what is Microsoft List? So Microsoft List, it is a Microsoft 365 application that help us to create and to track information and organize the work. So the lists are simple, smart, and flexible. So we can stay on the top of what matters most of our team need. And the back end of the Microsoft List is SharePoint. Okay, so it's kind of repackaged version of SharePoint list formatting and columns formatting. So here we have the travel request list. We have, sorry, several templates. I'm going to show you a demonstration on the travel request list. So let's say, so here I can create or I can select any list from my SharePoint site or so let's say I didn't choose. So let's say I created a list. I want to create a list here. And if I want to use this template, if I choose my list, the list will be stored on OneDrive. Okay, so whereas if I pick a website here, these are my SharePoint sites. So I can store the list either on OneDrive or SharePoint site. Now, this is the list that I have created. earlier. So here we have travel request. So it's very user friendly. It's very nice. And here I will show you like a different scenario by how we are approving within Outlook with a different wall concept. So I will sign in to Azure. We have a group for approvals inside Azure. So I will show you the members of this group and how the flow will check for the members of this group that will approving this item. So I will go to the Azure Active Directory. I will go to groups. And here we have a group called travel request. Great. So this and inside this group, we have two users. Okay, we can check the members here. So it is a user inside the organization and me. So what I'm going to do, I will now submit for a travel request. I will click on new, and I will provide my trip details. So trip to UAE, reason for travel goes here. Who's the requester? It is me. The destination will be Abu Dhabi, for example. For example, the travel start date, it will be starting tomorrow. So I provide all the information. Airline, there is a drop down. Let's say fly Emirates. So here I can type the ticket, the hotel, say for season, whatever. Estimated cost 5,000. Let's say it is new by default, and I will save. Now, before I save, I will go to the flow, and this is the flow where I'm using to trigger from the Microsoft list. So as I mentioned, the backend of Microsoft list is SharePoint. So we are using SharePoint as a trigger. So I will go ahead to the flow. I'll click on edit. And here what we're doing. So we have a trigger whenever the item is created. We are updating the status to pending after it is created. Some variables for the approvals, getting the group members from the Azure Active Directory that I have showed you here. And it will return these users that exist inside this group, and some array variable using expressions, like we are splitting the approvals by semicolon to separate the emails. After that, we have the create an approval action, and the type of this is wait for all responses. So here what we're doing, we are waiting for all the approvals until they approve. And once they approve, once it's fully approved, then the flow will terminate. And now you notice that we have two different branches. So we have a parallel branch that the first action, it's waiting for the approval, and we have a Boolean variable, to check whereas if it's approved or not. If so, we are updating the item to approve as to reject whatever is the outcome of the approvals. And here we have a do until action. And this do until action, we are checking if it is completed. If not, then it will keep repeating based on some limitation on a timeout, like for 1 hour, from 2 hours. The count can be here 60 times, like each 1 hour, the count will increase by 1. The max limit for the count is 5,000. And here we are using an apply to each to iterate through the approvals, to filter the data based on the approvals using the common data service. So we have an entity called approval responses. We are using a filter query to check if the approvals has take any response. If so, then we have another condition that checks if there is any item inside this entity. Then if so, we are doing nothing. If there is no records inside this entity, we are sending an approval reminder for the approvals. So this is how we are able to troubleshoot and create our flows. So now I will test this action. I will perform the trigger action. So I will click on test. So now the flow is waiting for a new request submission. So now I will submit this request. I will click on save. You will see that all the data here. Now it is new. You will okay. So now the flow is too fast. Now it's pending. So as I mentioned, after we create the item, it will be updated to pending. I can check the amount, the user profiles. So if I get back to the flow, we can see my flow is running, and I have received an email from the flow. So the flow has checked here for the group members and has sent me the email. So it's dynamic. It's not static like each time it's sent for this user. Whatever who's the member is, it will send the email to. So getting back to the flow, I will take my approval decision. I will say approve. It is approved. So this is the first approval. But now what will happen? The flow will not terminate until the second approval take his approval decision. So so because the approval type that I have created, I have assigned to wait for all the approvals. So now it will be escalated to another user, which is this user. So I will go to Outlook now, and I will go to a different browser, and I will go to Outlook. I will close everything here. So you can see that I have an approval reminder for this travel request. So here the delay is 1 minute just for testing purposes. That's why it sent me this reminder, because this user didn't approve this item. And now if I wait again 1 minute, another reminder will be sent from Power Automate. So now if I want to approve, I will click on this link, and this link will redirect me to the Power Automate portal. So here we have two options. I can also respond from here, from the portal, or I can respond from the approval, the default approval that is displayed in Outlook. So now I will choose my response. I will click on approve. This is optional, of course, to add commands. Commands goes here. And finally, I will confirm. So after I confirm, so finally, the flow has been succeeded. So now in just a moment, the flow will be succeeded, and my request here will be approved. So if I refresh the page, so now the flow, there is a delay with the flow, but anyway, the status of this request will be approved. Now, last but not least, I will be talking about the customer, the customer voice, which is formerly known as like the Forms Pro and Microsoft Forms. So in Microsoft Forms, we can easily create our surveys and polls to collect customer feedback, measure the employee satisfaction, and we are able to create like some branching rules using the customer voice, which is the Forms Pro, which make our surveys interactive and ensure that only relevant questions are displayed to the responders. So for example, for a question like how likely is that you would recommend us to a friend, so we can create a branching rule based on this question if they respond like likely or not likely. So now I will get back to, I will go to the customer voice, which is here, and I will go to home. So this is the customer voice is replaced is the replacement product from the Microsoft Forms Pro. So using the customer voice, I'm able to create my surveys to manage to check for the results as a statistics and in a data visualization. So here I can check all my projects. It's very nice. This requires an additional license, of course, because this is premium. But let's say if I want the basic form, which is Microsoft Forms, here in this forms, it's very simple. I can create a form and a quizzes. So I will just sign in to show you. what will happen. Okay, so this is the current Microsoft Forms that comes with your Office 65, where I'm able to create a new form, a quiz. So if I click on new form, I can add several type of questions. It can be choice, text, rating, but using the customer voice, which is the Force Pro, I'm able to create like add some branching rules, initialize some variables to track where is this session, where is the session type that they are submitting this form. So this is my survey here. We have the fields, our solutions. So I will open this form and submit a new response. So I will go in the web browser. I will open this form in a preview mode. I will provide the information. Let's see, organization. Here I can check for our solutions. So let's say I'm interested in Azure data warehousing or in Microsoft software, medical software applications like Emotap. So I will submit. Now what will happen? So we have a flow for this. And this flow will trigger when a new response has been submitted. So again, this is another user. Okay, and here we have a flow for the forms. So I can troubleshoot from the run history to check for this flow. So it will trigger in just a second. So there might be a delay. So here we are collecting the responses and sending the email for the user who submitted this form, like thank you for submitting the form. And also we are storing the form data inside the model-driven application that I have mentioned during the first session. So where I can check for this data of all the responses and how I can manage them. So of course, in the customer voice portal, I can check for the survey reports. So under reports, I have my surveys. I can see that I have 9 responses. And here I can check for all the responses based on the fields that I have provided. I can see in a charts for the methods, for the radio buttons, what is the most selected, what are the solutions that most of the people are interested in. So I can see in charts. So this is how I'm able to check for the reports inside the customer voice. Now, what about the model-driven app? So getting back to Power Apps portal, I will open all my applications. I will go to the customer promos request and play this app. So this is how the model-driven app will looks like. So it's very limited. I cannot change in the design. I can add the entities that I want that is connected to the common data service. So here I have added the entities that I want to be displayed inside this portal. So let's say I want to check for the responses. So I will go here to this entity. We can see the survey name and the submit date. Let's say I want to filter from the newest to oldest. So here, what will happen? It will filter for me the last submission dates, which is today's date. So now I have submitted a form, and here I can check the survey and I can check the responses. So this is how I'm able to manage. It's very user friendly. I can see the status, the priority of this survey. I can see also the response details within this form. So I have to sign in order to check for the responses. And also here I can check for the questions and the responses related to this user who submitted the form. So also I can check for my surveys here again. So all my surveys, all my projects, it's the same as the customer voice. But we are showing you how we are also able to use, how we are able to benefit from the model-driven application. And if I get back to the flow and I refresh now the runs, we can see that my flow has triggered 2 minutes ago and it succeeded. So this is based on the response that I have taken while filling the survey. So here, finally, I can see that the flow has sent me an email, and the solution that I have selected, the company name, and all the information, plus the session type. So we can trigger from where the person has filled this form. So if the session type was webinar, it will show us webinar. If it is media, it will show social media. So mainly that's it. I hope it was informative, and the solution that we offered you might need it in the future. So please now, if you have any questions, feel free to ask, and also you can unmute yourself and ask your questions. So thank you.
Thank you all for joining. Bobby will go over just whatever offers we are providing and the workshops, the next workshops that might come. And she will be also contacting you one by one to define the next workshop together. We are providing some one-to-one workshops on other things, on Azure, on Power BI, on M365 security. So there are many workshops that we are providing. And please, Bobby, if you can share the next, also just discuss whatever is coming next and what kind of offers we are providing, please.
So before we begin with that, does anyone have any? So yes, thank you everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this session today. It was lovely having all of you here, and yes, thank you everyone.